the forgotten medicine. How touch, memory, and desire keep you alive after 60. Have you ever laid still in the dark, listening to your heartbeat, but felt absolutely nothing beneath your skin? No pain, no desire, no spark, just emptiness. And you wonder, will that feeling, that sense of truly being alive, ever come back? If you're over 60 and you've told yourself that those things are behind you, please stop right there. Because that's not the truth. You're not past your prime. You haven't run out of life. You simply were never taught how to keep the fire alive when the world around you goes quiet. Some say, after 60, intimacy doesn't matter anymore. But the truth is, that's when you need it more than ever. Not to prove anything, but to hold on to yourself. The self that once lived, once loved, once burned with passion. The self that still deserves to feel, no matter how silver your hair or how soft your skin. In today's video, we'll explore why the body after 60 seems to fall silent, why your hormones, nerves, and emotions stop responding the way they once did, and most importantly, how to gently awaken that quiet part of you. With small steps you can take every morning. No pills, no clinics. Just you, willing to touch your body again, with the tenderness and reverence it deserves. Stay until the end, because there's a gift waiting. A morning ritual to help restore circulation, awaken emotion, and help you feel truly alive again. That silent spark exits through the prostate. Block it, and trouble wakes. After turning 60, many people believe that intimacy no longer matters. They stop touching their bodies, stop ejaculating, stop connecting. But what most don't realize is that the prostate doesn't stop just because you do. It keeps working, keeps producing fluid. And if that fluid isn't released regularly, it begins to accumulate. It may seem harmless, but this is the silent root of many problems older men endure every single day. The prostate is a living gland. It contracts, it secretes, it responds to hormones and emotional signals. When it's no longer activated frequently, the fluid inside becomes stagnant, setting the stage for inflammation, swelling, and pressure on the bladder. The result? Frequent nighttime urination, weak flow, the uncomfortable feeling of never quite emptying, and the worry that steals your sleep night after night. One man I met, in his 70s, seemingly healthy, was waking 5 or 6 times every night just to use the restroom. He couldn't understand why his body was betraying him, despite his clean diet and daily exercise. But the truth was, he hadn't ejaculated in years, and his prostate, quietly, was crying for help. Studies show that men who maintain regular ejaculation, even through self-stimulation, have a significantly lower risk of prostate cancer. Because ejaculation doesn't just release fluid, it cleanses, it maintains. It's the body's natural form of maintenance, just like deep breathing or sweating. This isn't about youth or desire, it's biology. It's how the body protects life. And when you ignore that signal, it's not just your prostate that suffers. Even the simple freedoms, like restful sleep or a long walk without worrying about bathrooms, begin to quietly disappear. When the body stops releasing, the mind dims too. Because sensation is not just physical, it feeds the brain. A man in his 60s once told me, "I don't feel like myself anymore. I walk into a room and forget why. I lose track of what I'm saying halfway through. I used to be sharp, quick-minded, But now it's like there's a fog in my head. He's not alone. Many older adults come to me worried about their memory, their clarity, their sense of slowly fading away. They think it's aging. But in truth, many of these cases don't come from age. They come from disconnection. Every time you stimulate yourself and reach release, your brain is bathed in a restorative cocktail of dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. These aren't just feel-good chemicals. They're vital. They nourish brain cells, improve circulation, and soothe cortisol, the stress hormone that damages memory. When your brain stops receiving these signals over long periods, clarity begins to dim. You lose focus. You feel less motivated. You forget more easily. And worst of all, you begin to doubt yourself. Most people have no idea their brain is starving for hormones, for sensation, for signs of life. Stopping physical connection with yourself cuts off the brain's supply of emotional nourishment, the fuel it needs to stay sharp. And over time, many slip into a vague, emotionless state, drifting without direction through their own lives. But here's the beautiful truth. The brain can recover. All it takes is a signal, a reminder. One small act, a gentle touch, a spark of sensation, can whisper to your brain, "I'm still here, still alive, still able to feel." And that's often all it takes for your mind to begin lighting up again. Head fog is alarm, ignore it, and it deepens into heart fog, life without pulse. I once met a man in his 70s, quiet demeanor, eyes that had lost their color. He said to me, "I'm not sad. I'm not happy either. I just don't feel anything anymore." Then he hesitated. "Is that normal at my age, doctor?" That question echoed in my mind, because I've heard it over and over again from so many older adults, and I realized they weren't truly depressed. They were simply disconnected from the feeling of being alive. After 60, many people go through loss. The loss of a partner, a role, a touch. And when there's no one around, they often tell themselves they must accept it. They shrink inward. No hugs, no kisses, no sensation. And over time, they stop feeling their hearts move for anything at all. Not because they're weak, but because they've forgotten something simple. The human body, at any age, needs emotional release. Self-touch is not just a physical act. It's how the body lets go of tension, loneliness, and pressure. At the peak of pleasure, the brain releases oxytocin and endorphins, two of nature's strongest anti-anxiety, anti-depression chemicals. When you skip this act for long periods, you are cutting off your own mental recovery system. I once saw a woman in her 60s, after losing her husband, become quiet, withdrawn. She stopped caring about her appearance. She didn't want to connect with others. But after one open-hearted conversation, she tried something simple. Just gently touching herself each night. A few weeks later, she came back, eyes brighter, voice softer. She said, "I no longer feel like a shadow in my own home. I feel returned." Because sometimes what we need isn't medication. It's one honest moment with ourselves. I still have feelings, and I deserve to live fully with them. Gentle release frees calm hormones, guiding you softly toward deep sleep. A man once told me, "I fall asleep just fine, but like clockwork, 2 a.m., I jolt awake, as if someone shook me." And then he just lies there, eyes wide open, waiting for the first light to creep into the room. His tests were normal. Nothing obvious was wrong. But when I gently asked about his intimacy lately, He turned away and whispered, "That part ended long ago." What he didn't know, and what many people don't, is that our body actually has a built-in natural mechanism designed to help us drift into deep, healing sleep. And a vital part of that mechanism is climax. When you reach orgasm, even alone, your body releases a special cocktail of hormones. Oxytocin to reduce stress and increase trust. Prolactin to trigger relaxation and contentment. Endorphins to soothe the nervous system and ease pain. At the same time, cortisol, the anxiety hormone, plummets. Your heart rate slows, breathing deepens, muscles loosen. Together, they work in harmony to guide you into your most natural sleep state. When you completely cut off that connection, you're turning off a key switch your body once depended on to restore itself. Instead, you're left with tossing and turning, racing thoughts, and that vague sense that the night is slipping away from your control. Many people turn to sleep medications. But you know what? They're just a temporary shell, never a real substitute for the internal relaxation your body once knew. And the consequences aren't just a few lost hours of sleep. It's a weakened immune system, declining memory, heightened cardiovascular risk. For older adults, this also means greater imbalance, higher fall risk, and losing day-to-day independence. One of my patients told me, after he started reconnecting with his body each night, he finally slept a full 6 to 7 hours, for the first time in years. "I thought I was just aging," he said. "But really, I was just missing something simple my body had been waiting for all along." Night release calms mind and works pelvic floor. Skip it. Calm becomes leaks by day. A retired firefighter once came to see me, still looking strong on the outside, but he spoke in a somber tone. "I can't stand for long anymore. My lower back hurts. My hips ache. But the hardest part, I've started leaking urine." He looked down at the floor, embarrassed, as if he had confessed something shameful. But the truth is, this wasn't his fault. It was a part of his body that hadn't been awakened in far too long. The pelvic floor muscles. The pelvic floor is a system of muscles at the base of your pelvis, supporting the bladder, intestines, and sexual organs. It's like the foundation of a house, and when that foundation weakens, everything above it starts to wobble. You lose control of urination, your balance becomes unstable, and that constant feeling of, "I'm not steady anymore," begins to spread through your body. What most people don't realize is, every time you experience sexual arousal, those pelvic floor muscles rhythmically contract. And those contractions don't just bring pleasure, they are nature's exercise routine, boosting blood flow, keeping muscles firm, nerves alert, and soft tissues elastic. When you stop that connection entirely, your pelvic floor gradually weakens. Blood flow slows, tissues stiffen, reflexes fade, and before you know it, you can't fully empty your bladder, you leak when you cough or sneeze. It's harder to hold in gas or stand for long, but you can't quite explain why. Many think this is just what happens with age, but really, it's what happens when the body is neglected. Because yes, you can train your pelvic floor, and one of the most natural ways is through gentle, regular stimulation offered by you to yourself. I've seen people who once feared leaving the house due to leaks. After just a few months of reconnecting with their bodies, they were walking confidently in the park again, laughing with friends, joining activities. No pills, No surgeries, just one quiet reminder. My body's foundation can still recover if I'm willing to place my hands on it once more. Ignore the body's foundation, and every signal fades, even immunity. One winter a few years ago, an older patient returned to my clinic after months of absence. He looked noticeably more exhausted. "I don't get it, doctor," he said. "I used to shake off a cold in 2 days. Now any sore throat, cough, or flu lingers for a week, sometimes a month." He hadn't changed much. Still ate well, still took gentle morning walks, but there was one thing that had shifted. He had completely abandoned physical connection with himself, and it was affecting his immune system more than he realized. Many people think the immune system is only about food or sleep, but in truth, hormones and emotions play a crucial role. When you experience sexual stimulation, even through gentle self-touch, your body releases a cascade of compounds that not only make you feel good, but also enhance your defenses. Specifically, levels of immunoglobulin A, IgA, a key antibody that protects the respiratory and digestive tract, rise significantly after orgasm. At the same time, endorphins reduce inflammation, oxytocin helps regulate heart rhythm, and dopamine activates your immune system to perform more effectively. When you shut off all these mechanisms, not just for a few weeks, but for months, even years, you're silencing a vital biological chain reaction that once helped you heal faster, reduce inflammation, and silently fight off disease. I once met a woman in her 70s, living alone after her husband passed. She had barely touched her own body for 5 years. But after one counseling session, she began to shift, not for pleasure, but simply to send a signal to her body. "We're still here." A few months later, she came back, eyes brighter, her voice full of energy. "I can't explain it," she said, "but I feel like my body is working with me now, not against me." Because sometimes, what helps you heal isn't a pill or a vitamin. It's the simple, living feeling that you're still here, still reaching for life, every single day. Touch revives more than immunity. Neglect lets every system, every feeling drift. Hear that whisper now, before you forget this body is still yours. I'll never forget a conversation with a retired principal, once a man of presence, sharp eyes, and a voice that carried weight. But that day, he came into the clinic quieter, his shoulders slightly slumped. When I asked about his health, he simply sighed and said, "I don't feel like I'm living in this body anymore. I feel like I'm just passing through." Heartbreaking, isn't it? But I've seen this in so many older adults, both men and women. They no longer feel in charge of their skin, their breath, their movement. They stop looking in the mirror. They stop tending to their bodies. They eat to fill, dress to cover, live to wait. And slowly, they vanish inside their own frame. The most striking part is, this doesn't begin with illness or trauma. It often starts with something very small. They stop touching themselves. They stop reminding the body that it is still cared for, still worthy of gentleness and attention. Self-touch isn't about desire. It's a grounding, sacred act to remind the nervous system. I still feel I'm still here. When you place your hand over your heart, gently stroke your skin, or listen closely to your own heartbeat, you're awakening an emotional circuitry long buried under silence and neglect. But when you stop, the body begins to fade. Minor pains go unnoticed. Breath feels distant. You'll wear anything, eat anything, go anywhere, because none of it feels like you anymore. I once heard a postmenopausal woman say, "I've stopped being a woman." And then she admitted, "I haven't touched my body in over 10 years. I gently asked, "If tomorrow you touched yourself again, would you feel like you'd returned?" She was quiet for a long time, then slowly nodded. Because presence begins with sensation, and sensation begins with a soft touch. When you return to yourself, you don't just reclaim your body. You reclaim your dignity, your gaze, and your reason to live each day with deeper meaning. Your gentle touch is the wake-up bell. Once you ring it, silent systems stir. When you stop touching your own body, you're not just giving up pleasure. You're slowly shutting down the most intricate systems that keep you alive. Sleep, memory, immunity, hormones, emotion, balance, and even your sense of belonging to yourself. Every part we've talked about, the prostate, the brain, the pelvic floor, the immune system, they don't work in isolation. They are a delicate symphony, where even the smallest gesture can awaken the entire orchestra of life still breathing within you. And touch, even if done alone, in silence, is the very first call that brings your body back to awareness. It is not about desire, not about weakness, and certainly not about shame. It is a form of care, a human act, a quiet affirmation that says, "I still deserve to feel, to be present, and to be loved, even if no one else touches me again." A single mindful touch turns awareness back on. From that spark grows the nightly ritual awaiting you next. If tonight you have a little quiet, a room where no one will interrupt you, try this. No rush, no goal, except presence. Place your hand over your heart. Then let it rest on a part of your body you may have forgotten. As if you were whispering, "I never abandoned you. I'm still here." Just one gentle gesture like that is enough to reawaken a connection long asleep. And if you continue just a little each day, once each night, you may notice something extraordinary. Your body no longer resists. It begins to cooperate. It softens, strengthens, comes alive again. If this video touched something in you, leave a comment, even a single line. "I'm coming home." And if you want to walk this path with others, hit subscribe. Because this journey, you don't have to walk it alone.